permits. Great. Let's move on to item D, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that, guys. My video was not playing.
Oh, they didn't get to see the flag?
They did not get to see the
Do we do
flag.
it again? Or I should have waited.
Those outstanding Americans all have flags in their home office.
In their home office. Okay. We'll go ahead with the safety share item, item F. Anybody have a safety share that they would like to bring to the group? Did I miss one? Oh, I missed call to audience. Sorry. Going back to E, I'll do the call to the audience. The audience members? Nope. Okay, moving on to the safety share now. Item F, any safety shares? Yes, we have one there. Kirsten?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry. This is one that came to the attention of a colleague of mine in my office. He gets Canadian news because he originated out of Canada. And it's about flooding in trenches. And there was an unfortunate incident that happened. It was in the Rockies, I think it was the Toronto area. And there was a contractor who was properly had the trench box in the trench, and it was sort of in a watershed area. And what happened was that a rainstorm parked on the mountains that were nearby. And they got some rain, and they all got out of the trench for the rain, and they got all the construction workers back in after the rain event was over, didn't get a lot of rain. And lo and behold, this watershed had a flash flood that came, and they got all the trench, the guys in the trench out except for one, and he drowned in the trench in a flash flood. And it really was opening our eyes to the fact that we could have all the safety harnesses and safety gear in those trenches, but if you got a guy in there in steel-toed boots and a climbing harness and whatever else he may have on, he may not even be able to swim. So this came to our attention because we're in Tucson and it's monsoon season, a lot of construction going on. So it's just another thing to think of when you're thinking of work in trenches beyond what we normally think of, which is trench boxes and things like that.
That is so sad.
Yeah, it was tragic, and it was like, oh my goodness, a drowning in a trench in a construction job.
We had an incident at Tres Rios here just recently where a contractor working at the headworks down where the Archimedes screws are, which is like a pit or a vault, and in their process, I think that's where it was. Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's in my mind. They inadvertently bumped a processed water valve and broke it, and so it proceeded to fill the area with water. Luckily, no one was in there, everything was fine and got evacuated. But what we learned in the process was how long it's not a valve that we will work with on a regular basis. So staff was somewhat slow at trying to figure out what was going on and what to do. So it caused us to rethink some of the parts of our process that are not daily functional areas, and remind that with turnover and new people, you gotta keep up on all that stuff. Jeff, I don't know if I got it right or something like that anyway. But unfortunately, yeah. So
Thank you for adding that. Steve Foley, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I just like once again that COVID is still out there. After 4 years of avoiding it, we finally got it at the end of May, and it's been nasty. I'm still dealing with some of the effects, and people are not taking precautions anymore, so you need to be doubly careful. It's highly transmissible, this current variant, and can have some nasty side effects. Thanks.
Very good reminder for all of us. Any other safety shares people would like to share with us? Do you have any more, Jackson?
No, that's good enough, I think. Good safety choice.
Yeah, thank you. I like having that on there. We're going to go on to the approval of the minutes. We have the meeting minutes for June 27th, 2024. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Good. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve. Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second? Second. And do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Say. Can you unmute and say aye, please?
Sorry, aye.
Anybody against? Let's try
Yeah,
that.
let's just try that. Anybody against? Anybody opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and count the minutes as approved. We'll move on to the discussion action item. We have the director's update.
Thank you, Claire, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and sharing your time with us. Just quickly, that's an oxymoron, Jackson talking quickly, but we're going to give it a try this morning. The Mount Lemon generator was something that's been recently finished up, so I thought I'd just share with you that up on Mount Lemon, we do have our fair share of power outages. Obviously, more weather hits that mountain than down at our other facilities. And so it has its own backup generator, but it's been quite old, so we just recently replaced it and are happy to have a brand new shiny generator for Mount Lemon.
That's great.
Second item, we've been talking about it, and that was the process pipeline at Tres Rios that failed. It was a 48-inch pipeline that was basically a mild steel with a concrete lining, and it converted in less than 10 years time to a Swiss cheese pipeline. And Swiss cheese is being generous because there was not much left, but through a lot of effort, a lot of planning, from plan A to B to C, I can't remember which one we ended up with, but initially we were going to replace that pipeline with high density polyethylene, but because of some of the special fittings, the lead time was just way too long to get the replacement parts. So ended up slip lining, or not slip lining, but cured in place pipe replacement. We ran a sock in there, blew it up to fill what remained of the shell of a pipeline, and cured it in place and have a nice new pipeline and tied in some new T's that take it from the primary to move it on to the reaction area of the process. And it was just quite the undertaking. And, we were very lucky. It truly was an emergency, but everything, continued to work in a not the preferred way, but it allowed us to keep sewer flowing and no major issues. It's just not a way to run the plant for very long. So it's all been replaced, and we have some future downstream jobs we want to do. We want to put some manholes that allow us better access to the rest of that pipe downstream to make sure we don't have to deal with this again. And we'll set up the timing and funding to do those at the appropriate time. But it was nice to have that finally resolved. And I know Jeff Pravat is going to be giving an update on treatment stuff. And I think in his slide presentation, he has some more pictures of that pipeline. So just to refresh your memory, it's quite amazing what had to occur there. And last but not least, the sad news for the day, or the bad news for the day, our beloved Deputy Director, Mr. Eric Wiedewalt, is retiring. September 13th is his last day. And he will be in this part of our success. And just, I always told Eric he cares too much sometimes, because he gets more frustrated than all of us put together sometimes with some of our bureaucratic processes and things. But that part is what's really kept us going in the right direction, and a high level of professionalism, and just a wonderful savvy of the industry, and just a gentleman and a scholar. And he had me put those parts into my speech. But, you know, I'm so happy and jealous that he gets to retire and go be grandpa. That's what his wife said. He had to be grandpa now. And so he can tell us all about it, but truly he's done a lot for this organization and will be missed. And we will be recruiting, but definitely big shoes to fill. So Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been
Please say something.
The shortest 27 years of my life.
You know, he only has 3 weeks left and he still cares too much. You know, I figured he's going to tell me, oh, you're bugging me, you know, and he's still got you on the spot. So keep it up.
Thanks.
It's very exciting.
Let's see, was that my last item? Oh, I got one other, and that's item 2. Jeanette sent out a poll for, you know, a ballot for picking our officers. And the 2 that, once again, are Claire and Scott. And the outcome ended up that Claire will again be the chair and Scott will again be the vice chair. And we will continue to move on, but we did get every member's vote. Everybody participated and we appreciate that was a good way to do it. And thank you all. And thank you, Scott and Claire, for last year and hopefully for this new year, the same wonderful service you both provide.
Well, thank you. That's great. We'll be a good team again, I'm sure.
Got each other's back.
All right.
Now we can go to Jeff. Without further ado.
Yes,
Dr.
we are
Jeff
on.
Provide.
Yes.
Yeah, where do you want me to? Here, why don't you sit here, Jeff?
You can have my seat.
Nah, you got mine. Oh, you got to drive over there? You two can.
All right. Hello, thank you, everyone. My name is Jeff Pravad. Many of you do not know me. I'm the Deputy Director of Treatment Division. So I put these 3 slides here because these are the 3 products that we mostly produce. We produce clean water, we produce residual biosolids, and natural gas at our treatment facilities. So treatment, we exist for protecting public health and safety and all of our water resources, groundwater and surface waters. So this is treatment division. We're about 165 employees. Another 17 if you count Agua Nueva, which is contractor operated by us. But we exist primarily of treatment operations for our Tres Rios facility, Agua Nueva facility, our sub-regional facilities. We have a total of 5 of those. And then our maintenance crews, SCADA and instrumentation, data management, process optimization teams as well. As I mentioned, we have 7 treatment facilities, and these are the flow rates for all of them. In total, we treat about 92 million gallons each day.
We have the capacity for 92.
92, yeah, we treat about 62 million gallons of capacity. So we have ample capacity in all of our facilities right now. These are our influent flows for the last few years. Agua Nueva and Tres Rios, it's kind of more difficult to see if we've had any increasing trends because they do share some common basins and transfer flows between them. So when one goes up, the other goes down. But we probably see about a less than 2% growth throughout our system. The chart on the right, you see we've had a little bit of increase at mostly our Corona facility and a greater increase at Agra. I think that big blip in the middle of the gray line, that's Green Valley. That was during COVID, so I think a lot of our winter visitors just stayed longer. They didn't want to go. It was difficult to travel or go back to cold country. So really no increases except for Agra Valley is our highest rate of increase at this time. So our biggest commodity that we produce is water. Treat sewage, we make clean water that we discharge both to the environment. We provide it to Tucson Water. Most of that goes for turf irrigation, urban lakes, recharge, those type of scenarios that most of us are familiar with around the country. Our biosolids, this is probably solids handling is our biggest bottleneck at treatment because all of our facilities, we have a common solids handling facility at Tres Rios. So all of our smaller facilities, Agua Nueva, all of their solid content goes to Tres Rios. This is typically our bottleneck. Right now, we did in 2020, we took a 1-year moratorium on land application. That's the green slice in the pie chart up there. Most of the country does land application The yellow is landfill. In 2020, we took a moratorium on land application because of some concerns we had about PFAS and our role in polluting our aquifers. And so we did a one-year study that demonstrated that the migration of PFAS and our 30 years of land application was very minor contributions to the overall PFAS loading in the soils. And so we were confident it wasn't impacting groundwater. And so after that year, we resumed land application. That one-year moratorium doubled our expenses because all the tipping fees at landfill. And there are some states that have banned land application of biosolids altogether. And those are typically places that had industrial manufacturing of PFAS components. And so they do have it's affected dairy farms and some of their crops as well. The photo on the left, this is a new process that we implemented in our solids. It's called neuresis, and it is to sequester phosphorus. All farming needs phosphorus, and there's indications that as worldwide our sources of phosphorus coming up from Morocco and China will probably be depleted in 2050 with obviously curtailing. So phosphorus is going to definitely go up in value. Some facilities actually recycle it and sell it to their local nurseries, and that's the bag product for fertilizer. We want to continue land application as long as we can. It's just been challenging in this current regulatory climate with PFAS and the cost for transportation. Gas prices have gone up so much the last few years. So we're looking at doing biosolids drying with a solar dryer to try to minimize our hauling costs. But this is one of our biggest challenges.
You might bring up that the new recess was really to combat the struvite buildup since Trump, and
Correct.
And it allowed us to get rid of ferret, which is another issue.
Yeah, what Jackson's mentioned, I have a few slides that talk to that. One of our biggest challenges with our biosolids handling is the side stream waste, and it's loaded with struvite. That's magnesium ammonium phosphate. It clogs pipes and creates almost like a concrete rock in there. So that was a constant maintenance chore. By us installing this, we selectively precipitate out the struvite, keep it out of our pipes, and I'll show you some benefits that's had for us. And that was the first one in the US. So we've continued to have a few growing pains on it, but these are all new technologies. Denver's put in our competing technology. We're both sharing, we have similar challenges. Green energy. So we do have 2 megs of solar, 1 meg here at Agua Nueva and 1 meg at Tres Rios. Together, those provide almost 10% of our overall power demand needs. We also use our biogas. So for years at Tres Rios, we used our biogas for on-site power production and heat. We still use gas for heating our digesters and our building needs, but we've opted to no longer burn our biogas at Tres Rios. We purify it into renewable natural gas and inject that into the Southwest gas pipeline locally. The benefit that has is on resiliency of your community. So in addition to the revenues we get from this gas upgrading process, has environmental benefits. But this map of the US shows that Arizona, we're primarily inbound. We're an importer of natural gas in Arizona. And we're linked, our feed source is from Texas, which goes through New Mexico, and we're also connected with California. If you look at the picture of California, they generate no biogas or no RNG internally. They import it throughout their state. This becomes more problematic when you look at this chart here. So Southern Arizona is served by Southwest gas. The northern half of the state is El Paso gas, natural gas primarily. But the map on the left, that's the interstate pipeline grid. All of our fuels come from Texas, and all those red dots, those are pumping stations every 100 miles or so to move that gas around the country. A few years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was Winter Storm Uri in Texas. Everything froze. So it disrupted this entire gas distribution system because the water that they used to cool those compressors froze as well. So there was no gas movement. So not only was Texas under a freeze, they couldn't even provide heating gas to their clients. And so this shows how vulnerable we are in Arizona. We're an importer of gas from other states. California is prone to earthquakes, and they wouldn't be a producer either. And so by us producing our own natural gas locally, ourselves, City of Phoenix is doing it. Mesa should have theirs coming on later. It gives your community some resiliency from natural disasters or occurrences in other states. It's another huge benefit for Arizona. Fiscal responsibilities, this is one of our challenges as well. Jackson mentions this every month. We're having to do a lot more with a lot less these days. Our infrastructure continues to degrade. We continue to make repairs. He mentioned the 48-inch line we just had to replace at Tres Rios. Those were unplanned expenses, almost $4 million. This is a snapshot of where we're at right now. Our operating budget's about $50 million a year. Our JOC contracts, those are emergency rehab projects and small projects we have all around our facilities is about $8 million. Capital improvements, these are our large plant expansions, new processes, for about 28 million, and about 1.5 million for capital equipment purchases this year. That's our fiscal outlay. So of the projects we have ongoing, these are capital projects right now. Our small plants have small problems and small needs. It's usually our big plants is where our high dollar are. Right now we have over the circle on the left, that's projects coming to completion right now. That's a new Headworks biofilter at Tres Rios. We have the sports park right adjacent to us. We want to be good neighbors, so controlling odors are our primary concern. And we had a tremendous hydrogen sulfide problem. We were seeing degradation on our Headworks at a considerably higher rate than we had anticipated. So we just did a full rehab on that, replaced all 4 Archimedes screws in the last 2 years. And we opted to install a biofilter rather than use activated carbon. By doing that, that's giving us an O&M savings, and it has a higher treatment capacity for removing that H2S so it doesn't corrode our downstream infrastructure. In the center of the plant, that's an Anitamox project that we're trying to get off the ground right now, and that is to treat our side stream waste, liquid waste, after we dewater our biosolids. This project, we budgeted $8.5 million. Estimates are coming in now at about 14 million. Everything's costing at least 30% more than we had budgeted when we did our 5-year CIP a few years ago. So instead of getting 10 projects done in the next 2-3 years, we'll probably get 3 or 4 projects maximum just because the dollars don't go as far as they used to. Over on the right-hand side, that's the solar dryer project that we're looking at right now. That's probably our biggest bottleneck is dewatering the biosolids before they go out to land application. And so we're looking at alternatives to centrifuge. We're also looking at solar drying. Instead of moving a 20% biosolids product, we would dry it up to 80%, get a Class A product, and then fewer truckloads are being hauled around the state to do that land application. So it's just it's a financial decision to reduce our O&M cost, but it does have a big capital outlay as well to make that happen. And then the little circle, we need additional digester capacity. So we had anticipated in our 5-year CIP to put in 2 new digesters. They're costing considerably more than we anticipated, so we're only going to put in 1 at this time, and we're opting to put in a thermal hydrolysis system to push that future second digester out a few more years, just because financially it's not feasible. Jackson mentioned that 48-inch line. So at Tres Rios, the plant's divided into an east and west plant. Each side does about 25 million gallons. So this pipe takes primary effluent for one whole side of plant. So without this in service, Tres Rios, we just lost our capacity by about 15 million gallons. And so it was emergency pump around. This corrosion pipe was only in place for 10, 11 years. Shouldn't have corroded like this, but that hydrogen sulfide I mentioned that we're upgrading the headworks, it caused tremendous damage to a lot of our downstream infrastructure. So anything that had this was a carbon steel that had a concrete liner, H2S ate the concrete liner away and then started deteriorating the pipeline. We noticed it leaking last year. In 9 months, it went from noticing these small pinhole leaks to the complete line being deteriorated. Luckily, that pipeline flows through the old original Ina Road facility, so we had about 1 million gallons of storage to contain the spill in ground, so there's no spills off site. But now you have to get that material out of there, do a tremendous pump around, and restore that pipe to its operating condition. So this is the condition of that pipe. These pictures look pretty horrendous, right? So we've gone in and we put plastic pipe in there, synthetic epoxy manholes, no concrete at all. And now we're slip lining this entire thing again with, we're not slip lining, a cured in place pipe. So these options will make sure that this never happens again. But it's probably about a $4 million unanticipated expense that we had to respond to. Here's some photos of that manhole coming in, massive cranes, a lot of work. Luckily, we had that old abandoned infrastructure from the Ironwood facility, so we were able to contain that. Can't really see well in this photo, but we have at least, I think, 16 straws, pipes to pump around so we could maintain this extra 15 million gallons of capacity. This one here, whenever we go to conferences, I always encourage my staff, take the tours if you can. Go visit some other facilities. When you're traveling, visit other facilities, because you never know how other entities who have our same challenges, how they've responded to them. So the picture at the top is our dewatering facility at Tres Rios, our centrifuges. We bought these massive units just 11 years ago, put these into service, 3 huge centrifuges. Now they're really becoming deteriorated because of that struvite. Struvite's like rock in there that just destroyed these. We would send these out. We bought these big centrifuges there from Germany, Westphalia. About $1 million to repair each one, and at least 9 months to a year to get it shipped there and back here. So in some of the tours we go on, we've noticed, especially in Europe, they have multiple really small centrifuges and they all look new. And so talking to these individuals, we came back and I share with my staff, we buy these big behemoth units, but when they break, they're not on the shelf items. So they're custom units. We send them away, we pay high dollar, and it takes a tremendous amount of lead time to get them returned. The smaller ones are made right in Wisconsin. Here in the US, we purchased this one for about $500,000. It's maybe 50 gallons a minute lower capacity than our large ones, but it operates at about 125 less horsepower. And it was installed in about 4 months. Purchased, installed, and in action. So we're kind of making decisions. Do we go with disposable smaller units that are readily on the shelf? Or do we still keep paying this high dollars for these big units? I tease Jackson and tell him, it's like owning a Ferrari. Every oil change is going to cost you $3,000 and outrageous amounts. And that's the kind of position we put ourselves in, buying these big monstrous units. So I think smaller units that are readily available, they lessen our vulnerability for sure. And they're turning out to save us quite a bit of operating costs in capital. One of our biggest expense, obviously, is chemicals. So this chart shows just our primary for disinfecting and then removing that residual chlorine in our facilities. So the bar graphs show our chemical usage. So overall, the top one for hypochlorite, you've seen our hypochlorite use go down over the last 5 years. But look at the green line, that's our expenditure rate. It's gone from 78 cents a gallon 5 years ago to $1.79, 129% increase in chemical costs. We see the same thing in bisulfite. Luckily, bisulfite, we use a lot less chemical and it's a lot less expensive. But we're seeing across the board 30%, 50%, 100% increases in chemical costs over the last 5 years. And we've never asked for a rate increase. And so we're kind of running out of margin for making improvements. And so this is becoming very critical, not only in our capital, but also in our O&M budgets. Jackson mentioned the new system, lessening our dependence on ferric chloride. We used to use ferric chloride primarily for H2S control on our headworks, but also post-digestion to keep the struvite from forming. With the inclusion of our new process, we were able to cut our ferric chloride usage by 75%, which was extremely critical because 5 years ago we were paying $1.88 for ferric chloride. Current day's pricing is approaching $4 at $3.76. That would have been another $1 million chemical expense that we avoided by doing this. We did incur some costs for a new chemical, magnesium chloride, to help form that struvite. So we traded one very expensive chemical for one that's much less expensive that we use quite a bit less. So still we're about a $600,000, $800,000 savings a year in chemical usage.
Yeah, ferric chloride's pretty corrosive too and creates other issues.
It's not as bad as H2S, but it's got its own demons for sure. And then one of our big challenges is polymer. We used to spend about $1.55 for thickening polymer. This is taking our waste activated sludge, putting it into the digesters. Now that price is almost $2.50 a gallon. Prices have gone up. Our usage hasn't. Our But because we did go to the neuresis process, we opted to go with an emulsion polymer. It worked better with that process. It's quite a bit more expensive, but we use less of that product. And it makes a much cleaner effluent that we will need for the centrate when we do go to the Nitamox and those other downstream processes. So that's where our chemical usage is going to be. Our other biggest challenge, other than financial, is workforce development. We have a hard time retaining employees right now and recruiting employees. I think that's nationwide. All utilities are seeing that same issue. I think our wage compensation study we've done has helped a bit, but hasn't done the job we had hoped for. For example, operations, we had assistant plant manager position. It's been vacant since November last year. We've offered that position to candidates on 4 different occasions, and each time they declined because our pay wasn't enough. So even though we've done the salary adjustment, we're still behind the times even for Arizona. We're not able to attract talent. We finally filled that position with an internal candidate just in the last month. Safety, we have 2 current safety positions vacant in treatment. We have a highly industrialized environment, a lot of safety and risks out here, and we're trying to recruit managers and safety officers. Our safety manager position has been vacant since February, and the applications we get are people mostly with like a security background, no industrial safety. We can't compete with the mines and some of these other industries that are doing well, so it's a challenge for us. Electricians, we're finally have full, but for years we always had 2 to 4 electrical vacancies, so we're having to rely on outside contracting for a lot of our electrical work. Instrumentation, we've had 2 vacancies since April. This has always been a challenge for us to fill these positions. Luckily, lately we've been backfilling those a little bit. And our SCADA positions as well. We had a lot of retirements recently. These are functions that we're having to contract out. But we also have a project that we're working on with the University of Arizona and utilities throughout the state. We went out and asked utilities throughout the state that were having the same problems hiring folks. If you were to hire an instrumentation technician or a SCADA technician, what are the 5 skill sets you'd like them to have? And what are the bare bones 3 skill sets they must have? And so based on that feedback, we created a 20 module curriculum. There's 10 for INC, 10 for SCADA positions. We've had utilities, bless you, Alan. We've had utilities from Colorado and Texas reach out to us as well. They want to partner in this as well. And so this project is really nice because most of our electricians, SCADA and instrumentation folks that we currently have, Pima County Wastewater, they have a military background. They came from Navy, they came from Army, Air Force, Marines. And so they have the basic necessities that we need. So developing this, we got a grant with the University of Arizona to develop a workforce skills program. And so this would teach those modules right next door here at our West Center. They would get military folks transitioning from military to civilian life. They'll pay their salaries for 3 months to come here and take our course. Our goal is that we'd have an in-course instruction for those modules. We would take them next door. They could actually see some of the equipment and model it and work with it next door to our West Center. We're using the all the DPR equipment that came from the Water Innovation Challenge from a few years ago. We have utilities throughout the state that are all volunteering to help us with this program as well. Because if they come out, they maybe teach one of those modules, they get to see the individuals, run through the coursework. Our goal is to try to populate the utility workforce for instrumentation and SCADA folks throughout the state, but far right here out of Pima County. Yeah.
Just a very quick question. I'm wondering if you have looked at Pima Community College and tried to engage with them at all.
We have.
Yes.
We try to go down an apprentice route with Pima Community College, and at the last moment, Pima County HR got a little nervous about an apprenticeship program, even though DES was going to handle a lot of the paperwork. So we opted for an internship program. And so the beauty for most of our utilities that we have Mesa, Scottsdale, Tempe, Phoenix, Southwest Gas, and TEP are all partnering with us on this. Tucson Water as well. The way this will work, most of our classifications say you have to have this degree or this many years of experience to apply for our positions. A lot of candidates don't have that, and so they don't make the criteria for an interview. What we've done is modified all of our minimum qualifications. You have to have the degree or certifications, the year of experience, or have a certificate for attended our academy. So that is an avenue that allows us to get people in the door with minimal experience, and then we'll train them up through our utilities. It'll be in-house training, an OJT, and followed by an internship. So then you'll get these people working in your shop for 6 months.
You know, one thing Jeff and I just learned too, one of our senior technical guys on the SCADA side just, requested approval he's now going to be an instructor at Pima College in his off hours. He's going to be teaching a SCADA class. So we're looking at how we can capitalize on his FaceTime with a bunch of possible, people that could be future employees. So we're looking at what kind of internship or what else can we do besides something like the program.
Yeah, isn't there a Tona Odom community college as well? Is it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm not familiar with that one.
There is, isn't there? Yes, that's what I thought. So that might be an excellent option to look there as well.
Yeah, we have to go shake our own trees because it's not always
Really,
some of the tougher ones that Jeff talked about. They're not just falling in our lap. We have to do our own, take our destiny in our own control here.
Kirsten and Craig, I know you guys are here, so we have a lot of our consultants we use for doing integration with our SCADA network as well. So far we've got M3 Engineering, HDR, and Jacobs have all agreed to partner with us, where they'll fly in their expert for whatever one of those teaching modules to teach that 2-day course. So it's a 2-day commitment. It's a commitment to help develop the curriculum, the modules, but a 2-day commitment to come and teach the class, do the field training here, and then they deploy them at your site. So our goal is to create enough wealth of talent in Arizona that we can all share. We're not robbing from one another to fill our vacancies and running up. Research innovation, this is my last slide. This is a fun part of our job because we get to see what other utilities are doing nationwide across the world and better ways that we can implement those technologies in our facility. PFAS, we'll continue to do PFAS. We're on an EPA grant right now that's looking at PFAS uptake by crops and food production throughout the country. That's EPA funded through Water Research Foundation. We also have the one that we did in 2020, now is being replicated nationwide with 23 other states. They're looking at long-term application sites, what's the PFAS in the soil and the depth at less than 6 feet to see, is there migration, is there attenuation? So we can continue land application of biosolids. Siloxane removal. Siloxane is probably one of our biggest challenges with our RNG project. We're continuing to have to change out carbon to remove siloxanes. And so we received a tailored collaboration grant with Water Research. And so it's 4 utilities. It's Pima County, King County in Washington, Colorado, and WSSC in Maryland. We're the 4 utilities that we're developing this test skid to test different absorptive media. Very similar to what Tucson has been doing with their CART project. Each time we change out carbon trace reels, we probably spend about $250,000 a year expense on our RNG project. And it's solely because we see siloxane breakthrough. And I change it out usually twice a year. So if I had 10 medias to change, it'll take me 5 years to go through that evaluation process. Through this tailored collaboration grant, we're building a test skid so we can test. I can test my 10 carbons in 2 months here in Tucson. I'll send it to these other places. They can test on their raw biogas. So it's a good improvement for our utility nationwide. AI optimization. We have a project with Jacobs right now using Palantir machine learning. We've been doing this for about 2 years at Agua Nueva. We've seen about a 25% reduction in aeration blower capacity over there. So at Tres Rios, we're looking to implement this for energy savings in our electrical usage, time of day usage, and also for our chemical savings. We're really going to focus in on our disinfection chemical and our polymer usage to save those, because we think we can save about a 30 to 40% across the board by implementing this AI technology. So we'll be doing that this year. And we're writing a book for WEF on the safety of using biogas and RNG safety at your facility. Right now, we're about one of 25 utilities nationwide that has renewable natural gas. There'll be 36 by the end of next year. But our fear is that all these facilities, there's a lot of new engineers or skid mounted systems that are being just Lego kludged together. And we're very concerned about the risks of that there's a risk of an accident happening. So we're trying to prevent that by writing a book of best practices as a nation. So we're probably about 60 authors right now. It's about 12 chapters. It'll be 1 year project. So we're hoping to have this book ready by next spring, next summer for utilities all around the country. That's it for me. Any questions?
Any questions? Is that both of your items? I see that you have a second item as well.
Well, the one was asked us about flow projections, but we're really not a water provider because a lot of the growth is on the water utility section. So I did put up the slide that shows our really only increase in growth appears to be at Abra Valley and maybe a little bit in the South Basin because we do see a tick up for the regional, for the metropolitan plants, but really it's just Abra Valley.
I just wasn't sure because it's listed separately. Okay. Any questions for Jeff? Does anybody have any questions for Jeff? I had just a quick question. Who's the person that who are you working with at the university?
So this is Andrea Keelan next door to West Center.
Okay. Okay.
Andrea and Carrie.
Any questions? That's a really excellent presentation. Thoughts or questions, anybody? No? All right, well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Now we're going to have the annual report. We're going to talk about the annual reports to the Board of Supervisors. And Jackson, were you going to cover that or?
I'm gonna let Jeanette take that one.
Is Jeanette going to cover that one? Jeanette?
I'm on a record. I've only talked for less than 5 minutes. I don't want to break that once in a lifetime.
Shall I ask you some questions then?
All right, so I sent you all the articles that Marla and I prepared. We did receive after, of course, I sent them to you. We did receive some edits from Justin Dillingham from Communications, who is absolutely fabulous. A few typos, switching some words from over to more than. He doesn't like the word over. So just a few recommended phrasing changes.
I only have one comment, which is I have brown hair in this picture.
we
it's
we
a
found
good
your high
picture.
school yearbook picture.
All right. So Claire, did you have on the chair? I
On
took
the
your-
letter?
on your little section. message
No,
on the
no,
chair.
I already reviewed that.
Okay, so you're good to go on that. Did anybody have any comments? Okay,
Lovely
moving
hair,
on.
though. Lovely.
Oh, thank
Lovely
you.
hair. She looks,
Spy hair.
she looks good. Jackson's
Doesn't look so good.
Jackson's photo looks good. Jackson had two comments on his. The first of all, right here in this phrasing here, the county also implemented position classification, restructuring, and salary adjustments in phase 2 of the compensation study. It actually was kind of like phase 1 and 2. So we're going to change that to adjustments as part of the compensation study. Just keep it simple. And the other thing that we have updated is it's now 3,600 miles of sewer pipe instead of 3,500. So those are that's a change on that. The scheduled dates, the awards, comings and goings. So this is where we did the bio information on our new members and our members who are leaving. Justin and I got photos for everybody. Did anybody? have
Alan
any-
and Eric's high school yearbook picture too.
Yes. Alejandra's on here. Kirsten, I got your bio on here too. And we also have the farewell bios to Allison, Bill, and Armando. Did anybody have anything that, any comments on these? Okay, we're
I didn't
good.
have any comments on these.
We're good. We're just gonna keep moving along. Division highlights. So this is just kind of an overview. This is what happened in this particular meeting. Just very brief. And the goal of this is just to give the Board of Supervisors an overview of what topics you discussed. So Marla, Marla took my very long meeting minutes and I tried to summarize as much as I could, and then she went in with her red pen and summarized a little bit more. Did anybody have any comments on this? And again, our goal is just information for the Board of Supervisors to let them know what you all discussed during the fiscal year. Did we miss anything?
I glanced through this earlier and I thought it was really great.
Um,
Does anybody else have a chance to read this or look through it? Comments?
Because we're going to take all the comments and edits and corrections that Justin gave us and Claire and Jackson and from this meeting, and we're going to give them to Justin, and he's going to get this all pretty and in the report, and it's going to be done. So we're not going to come back.
Yeah, this is the final. Oh, we need a battery. We need
Where is?
Get it plugged in.
a-
Thought it was plugged in here. Oh, I got it. Anyways. So we're going to take this, and this next meeting, we're going to approve it. So there will be no comments and edits and corrections at the next meeting. It'll be,
So if people if they want to have a little time, if they
well,
want,
that's why I sent it early.
right. So. at
And
this
that's why we're
time-
going through it now.
Yeah, okay. No, this is it.
Well, we don't have time to
Mhm.
have corrections being sent to us
And then
after
go-
this meeting, because you guys won't be able to discuss and
Right.
approve any changes that you may propose. That's why I sent this early and I asked you to please review, because last year was a bit of a hassle trying to get it taken care of, and we had suggestions for changes after it was printed. And by that point in time, I can't get it to all of you for approval because
Right.
you're not available, you're not here, you're not
Right,
all in a
right.
group. So it's important that we take the time to go through this. If you have any corrections or changes.
So let's
This
just,
is it.
let's continue because I think people did probably take time to read it and.
Okay. So next is the division highlights. This is the treatment, conveyance, TS&E, and Creo, Max over there. So this again is the summation of the information provided to the RAC committee during the year. Justin had a few, as well as change to and also little things like that, just some phrasing, capitalization of monkeypox or decapitalization of monkeypox. Those were Justin's suggestions. Did anybody have any comments or additions that they'd like to include? Please.
I just thought it might be nice if you described like a photo, little caption.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
So of the location and what it is? It's some pipes at Tres-Rios. That's all I know.
That's what I thought it was, pipes.
Purpose. Okay, that's a good, yeah. I chose this photo because it's colorful.
Yeah.
It's a cool photo. So yeah, definitely. No, that's a really good point. Anything else? Scott? Oh, you're good? Okay.
My hat's off to you as a writer.
Oh, hats off to Marla as the editor. All right, so now for this, the CIP and financial subcommittee updates. We did something a little different this year. I was going through some of the older annual reports, and I think it was in 2017, instead of doing, the subcommittees had a meeting on this date and they talked about this, we took the topics that were discussed in the subcommittee and discussed those. So it's more of an article about the CIP program and what was discussed in the meeting than just verbatim, this is what occurred.
I think that's really great. I think we had a lot of very robust work on the finances this year.
Exactly.
And we did not make a choice to move forward as much in this year. And so it's really important to have this in here.
Exactly. And we can also provide the Board of Supervisors with some of the graphs. Like I took this graph that you see up on the screen, that's directly from the financial plan regarding the 5-year CIP budget. So they can actually see, and on here with Jaime's assistance, these are the big projects that were completed during the fiscal year or that were almost completed. But we put in there the total budget costs, the ones that received awards, and the information about the project. Now, this was all given to us throughout the year at the CIP subcommittee meetings, during Jaime's updates. So all of this, we've all discussed, it's all been in our meeting minutes. It's just presenting in a slightly different way.
Well, this is a side comment, but will you actually present this to the Board of Supervisors? Will you have a presentation?
We will not be presenting them. We just give them the report.
Okay.
The clerk of the board receives a copy. All the board supervisors receive a copy, and county administration. And
Yeah.
of course, all of you.
I'm just wondering if it might, given that we are going to be moving forward with a financial change.
Well, let's wait till we get to the financial subcommittee update. And
Oh, okay, sorry. Keep going.
keep going. Okay, so, and one of the things that we all discussed that we wanted to try to do in this annual report was prepare the Board of Supervisors for the discussions that we've been having of the potential for raising the rates. So in the financial update, we again did the same thing as what we did with the CIP update. We included the graphs from the financial plan. We discussed the revenues, debt service, all the things that are impacting our RWRD's budget. And we also included inflationary impacts on the budget. That's something that Jackson talked about a lot over the last year. Somebody's got their hand raised, but I can't quite see who it is. Who is that?
Is it
Jackson?
Asia?
Hey,
Asia.
hi Claire, hi Dad. This is Asia. I just had a question on the one of the words in the CIP subcommittee, or talking about the CIP subcommittee, but I can probably just send that to you.
Oh, well, you can just
Jeanette, is that what you're saying?
You can just tell me now.
Okay,
Because
well
I do have some
still have-
corrections that Justin
Okay.
said that may go with that. So go ahead and tell me.
So there's a sentence like in one of the boxes about Pima County growth areas, and it talks about the prosperous growth areas. And maybe that's intentional. It just kind of caught me, and I thought maybe it was supposed to be prospers, like referring to the document or the plan.
No.
Yeah, so that was.
It's not Pima County prospers. It's the prosperous growth areas is how Marilla phrased it in her presentations.
Okay,
So
okay, thank you.
But he did catch a typo. It's not state statutes, it's state statutes. So a little bit further down in that box, it is a typo that he did catch.
State statutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Asia, so much. So in this financial update, we tried to give more background about the potential for the need for the rate increase. Did anybody have a chance to look at this? Did they have any comments?
Well, this was what I wondered if maybe not right now, but at some point it would be good to. You might use this as an excuse to talk to the Board of Supervisors about just a few highlights of this report. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible, but just because you could slide the finance stuff into it so that they've heard it. I just think they don't read things all the time. So, sorry.
No, that's a very good point. That is,
It's like-
because I know most
there's
of
a-
you people don't read my email.
There's a lot coming over their,
Yeah,
over
there
their,
is.
on their plates. And
Yeah.
so, yes.
Have any of, now here's a question that's gonna seem kind of silly. This came up a couple months ago. Have the committee members been able to update their supervisors on what's been going on or issues that you're concerned about or?
I have had a meeting with my supervisor and talked to her about, but it was more overarching. I just think
Okay.
it's great for us to bring it to our supervisors, but if you were able to give a 10-minute presentation and say, we've done our annual report and we just want to point out maybe these 3 things, and one of them's the financial thing, it would just put it more public. Is that something you could do, or is that?
Well, a lot of times I'll go through the county administration to see if they support that recommendation.
Yes, of
too,
course.
but-
Yeah.
But, it is the election year, and so
Um,
what if the board, some
No,
member of the board.
that's a good
changed
point,
and
yeah,
stuff,
that's a
so
good point.
I don't know if it's
Worth it.
worth
Okay.
it right now.
All right. Just thought I'd bring it up.
The same question Jeanette had, if any of the members had a chance to take it to their board member and that they represent. But this report represents all the work you've done over the last fiscal year. So it would be a great opener for anybody to go see their supervisor.
That's a great idea. Yeah, or to just make just an email to say, but have you seen the report? If you'd like to discuss any portion with that, I'd love to meet with you.
Oh, that's great.
How about that?
Because you guys have all worked so hard over the last year,
Does that sound
volunteering
good?
your time.
I just feel like we don't want to lose the opportunity to give them a heads up.
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I give a monthly update to my liaison at District 1. I don't have a direct communication with my supervisor, but I give it to the liaison
Mhm.
and then they take it from there. And they also attend our meeting every month.
That's
Nice.
fabulous. That's
I
absolutely.
see Kirsten up there with her hand up.
Yeah, I have two comments. The first is, I have not had a chance to update my supervisor. I'm about due for that. They are, in particular, Matt Hines is very interested in the green infrastructure. So the material that Jeff Pravat this morning provided will be very helpful to me for that. But I have 2 thoughts. One is in the CIP, I understand that is fiscal year, but so does that mean the stuff that Jeff Pravat just updated on the digesters, those are upcoming things. And I noticed they weren't like on the CIP page. I don't know if we're excluded from being able to, put those on there, even though it would be timely potentially.
The CIP update focused on the projects that have been completed, not so much the future projects.
Okay,
Because
I saw the Sawadita was future, and it sounds like the digester and
that one is
some
still-
of those things would be, gotcha.
Yeah, that was still, we tried to keep it to 2 pages. As you all
That's
know,
fine.
I be very verbose. And so we tried to keep it down just to the high points.
Okay.
These were the main, more immediate things, but I can always add, if you guys think something is pertinent, we can always add it.
If there's any other high dollar things that Jeff or Jackson would think would be helpful for future projects, since we're trying to get the supervisors to look at this now, it might be timely. Another thing would be if you can't get a summary before the Board of Supervisors over here's all the things, here's a 10-minute thing, you could at the next meeting have almost Jackson, Jeff, whomever, do a, hey, we now have this packet that the board has or is about to approve. Let me give you a 10-minute briefing here in this meeting. These meetings are recorded. I could point my supervisor to go watch that 10 minutes of the recorded meeting. if they're interested. That's another way, because these are recorded and findable online. Just a thought.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. And Ellen has a comment to make.
Yes, I give a financial update to the Board of Supervisors at the second meeting of every month. The next meeting that I'll give an update is on September 17th. And part of that update will include information related to the budget for fiscal year 25-26. I can certainly put in my update some commentary regarding the possible increase in rates. Jackson, you and I can work on that, and we can take that through Jan and Carmine to make sure that that's what they want to do. The briefing in September will lay out the structure for how we're going to do the 26 budget. And it seems to me that it would be appropriate that come up at that point.
Okay, thank you. That sounds like a great thing. So I think we have, just a summary, I think we have a couple different things we can do. There's going to be some mention in Ellen's presentation. We can, when this goes out, if you can let us know it's gone out to the supervisors, we can then follow up with our own supervisors and say, I know you've received this report. If you have any questions or interest, I'd be more than happy to meet with you. Okay. And I think that was those are the action, sort of like some action items. And then just keep in mind our interest in having high dollar amount items in here, because it will help support
definitely
the changes. All right. Any other comments on this? Did you finish going through the report?
There's actually 2 additional articles. We did the update on the grease collection recycling event. Pretty standard stuff. The new article was something that we discussed for the first time this year, and it was written by Belinda Gamboa Felix, and Marla, Justin, and I edited it up a bit. It's on the Power BI implementation in RWRD. Since RWRD and especially Belinda, working with Jeff and Jackson and all of the deputy directors, are really at the forefront of developing the using Power BI. We wanted to promote that because it's something that the department stands out on. So we have that article in here. So that's kind of a new topic that we haven't done before. Did anybody have any comments on that? They're all good?
Yep, they're all good.
Okay. Asia, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand up a minute ago.
No, I think that was on. It was in the same block, but
was it? Oh,
if you
okay.
look over here, you can see who
Okay.
it was.
That's everything.
The effort to create the workforce that Jeff discussed, I find that so compelling, and I hope that maybe it can be in next year's and we could some way emphasize that. That might be something that if we do talk to our supervisors, I think they'll be very enthusiastic about that particular element. So I just thought I'd highlight that as something
That would be a good
supervisors really will latch on to.
And also just noting the issues that we're having with, and they call it the great tsunami of the older workers retiring and the replacement of.
Yeah. I also think that collaboration with the U of A, but also the community colleges is something supervisors will really appreciate. There's a lot of attention right now into the fact that people have to get an undergraduate degree to be successful professionals, and that is not a route many people can take. So it limits people, and this is one of the ways that you're helping sort of helping people leap over that potentially financial or other barrier to being a successful wastewater professional. So I think that's great. All right. And any other comments on this report? Thank you so much. It's excellent report, really is. Both of
Thank
you really deserve a lot of appreciation for putting this together. So thank you very much. And do you need any action from us other than no comments?
So, Marla, Jackson and I will get together on the CIP. Maybe include a little table of the projects and maybe something like that. And I will forward it to all of you. And I guess just kind of give your approval on it or comments.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Just that way everybody's on the same, because it's a great addition. And I think we should definitely include that in.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to just send that around also, so that we have a chance to look at it. before the
Definitely.
Meeting, and then at the next meeting, we'll vote.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. All right. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much, you guys. That was excellent. We'll move on to the financial and risk management update, and we have
Isai.
Isai is here to give that report.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Computer up and running here. I'll share my screen and then we can go through the financial summary. Perfect. I believe I clicked correctly.
Looks good.
So
Yeah.
this is for fiscal year 24 up to period 12. We'll go through our total O&M expenses. As we know, the adopted budget was 96.7 million. The actuals as period 12 were 93.5 million, and the projection was 97.7, giving us a variance of 969,000. Now, for our total O&M expenses, including contract depreciation and debt services, the adopted budget was 176 million. Actuals were 167.3. The projection was 177.2, with a projection variance of, with a variance of 1.2. Going down to the revenue, the adopted budget was 194.6. The actuals were 209.6, and the projection was 211.1, giving us a variance of 16.5 million on that. And as a period from period 12 to now, several transactions have occurred. So once we have concluded all the transactions for the fiscal year 24, we'll present that to the board so we can have how the year fiscal year 24 has closed. And for the summary for fiscal year 25 period 1, the main purpose for to present the financial summary is to capture the adopted budget, the actuals, and the forecast. At this moment, the forecast has not begun. As well, the final budget has not been updated into the new system. Once that has occurred, and the goal is for us to present next period the final adopted budget to the board, and in October, we'll present the first forecast along with the adopted budget as well. So at this moment, we want to present the accuracy of those reports.
Hey, Isai, this is
Questions?
Jack.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I was just gonna ask a question, in these presentations, we don't do it often, but this year in particular, 24, fiscal year 24 that just ended, because just looking at the O&M expense showing us that we're almost $1 million over budget. But, when we started the year, that was the CBIZ transition where employees, most every county employee got raises, some of them significant raises with the compensation study, and departments had to show how they were going to fund that. So we had approved budget, a modified or updated budget, whatever the right term I'm trying to think of. And we moved a 1.2 million out of our capital budget into employee expenses. So with that move, it would show us under budget and, in that arena. And we also had some other things like we had to buy radios, unbudgeted radios, and we were given about 250,000 moved over from the contingency authorization to allow us to do that radio purchase. We also had the 48-inch pipeline repair that we had to move money over. It didn't happen this past year. It carried further than we wanted, but those funds got moved in there. And, those things, I would think that we would at least show an adjusted budget. We got the adopted and we know that, but there were things that were done for that reason. So, you could show both at least, but it just made me think of that, because when we also look at our capital budget, when we do CIP discussions, we show the adjusted budget from CIP. So it seems like we should at least match it and show it or be consistent in that. That's all.
So just to, before we get to Ellen, are you saying maybe adjust these graphs to show the adjusted budget and the original budget?
Or have a second, column on the spreadsheet. You got an adopted budget.
Yeah.
Because those adjustments were weighed, not just in wastewater, on the personnel because of CBIZ transition.
Right.
That was done across the county, different ways in different departments. But I don't know, Ellen had her hand up.
I think that would be very useful. Also, Ellen, you had your hand up.
Yes, so because of CBIZ major change in compensation for county staff, as a whole, when we presented information to the Board of Supervisors, we were using the revised budget. That's the word you were looking for, Jackson, revised. We can certainly provide a fiscal year 2024 adopted, revised, actual analysis at the next meeting. That's what we've been doing that's what finance has been doing globally when I report to the board, because every department had a revised budget because of the CBIZ changes. Normally we present adopted, and revisions are really not reported because we are always comparing ourselves against the adopted budget. Fiscal year 24, however, was a unique year. So we'll be happy to put together a slide deck that shows adopted, revised, and actuals for this group.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we're moving on to item C, which is the depreciation discussion with Mandy.
Good morning.
Morning.
The question was raised a few months ago why there's such a difference between the adopted depreciation expense and the actual depreciation expense. And I'll just to reiterate where we're coming from and why that question was posed. So you can see here in this line, the adopted depreciation is 64.5, and right now the actual is 57.6. So just keeping that in mind when we're going through the discussion. So it is a large variance, and I'm going to attempt to explain it. My thought initially was to write a memo to explain the process and the various if-then scenarios as to why there is such a large difference. But once I started writing that memo, it really started to get really long because there really are a lot of different factors that weigh into it. So I thought, let's just have an open discussion and open dialogue so that questions can come up now and we can talk them through instead of having any takeaway questions from a memo. So let's first talk about the process. As you all know, the budget cycle starts in the fall for a budget that actually starts 8 months later. At that time, wastewater is putting together all their capital projects. They're putting those in place, determining which projects are going to be finalized, and those assets are placed into service during that fiscal year or the fiscal year that's going to start, 8 months later. In addition to that analysis, wastewater is also looking at current year capital projects. What was planned in the current year? What was planned to be finished in the current year and placed in service so that those projects are finalized, placed in service, and depreciation starts on those then assets. Then there's also the factor of prior year. The prior year assets that are already placed in service, depreciation is already occurring, also weighs into that budgeted depreciation amount. That's how it's all calculated when we're looking at the budget. So the adopted budget has a lot of different factors. But also capital projects has a lot of different factors. A capital project might be delayed for many different reasons, whether it's a supply chain issue, run into other things along the way. Sometimes those plans aren't always met and those dates aren't always met. So a lot of different things to consider. The actual depreciation expense, that actually occurs at the end of the fiscal year. Once the fiscal year closes, our financial control and reporting team, they analyze what projects were done throughout the year. They map out the depreciation expense schedule, and then they calculate the final depreciation expense for the current year or the year that had just ended. All of those factors come into play, and they do their final year-end depreciation expense in the closing periods. So where we are right now and what we presented today is as of period 12. But we have accounting closing periods where the auditors come in, they do their adjustments, they do the final entries. That all happens after June 30. So I think we're in period 14 right now. So FCNR is still doing those final calculations to do the final depreciation expense entry. I hope that gives you some kind of context to the magnitude. As you people on the capital project subcommittee know, there's a lot of capital projects that go on in wastewater. It's a large budget in capital projects. So it's kind of a complicated factor. And when we're doing the adopted budget, again, we're starting that in the fall for something that really doesn't begin until, 8 months down the road. So I just wanted to bring back a little bit of more context to you so you can kind of understand all of the different variables that go into that depreciation adopted budget and the actuals that we'll post on the final. I'm happy to take questions if that gives you a good enough explanation, or what questions you may have.
That was very helpful. Thank you, Andy. Does anybody have any questions about this? Comments? Okay, I think we're good, but I really appreciate you taking some time to think that through and provide us with an overview.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to the financial subcommittee report. And I don't think Matt is here.
Matt is not here, but Eric, you were gonna give a little brief update.
Yeah, I'm here. The financial subcommittee is planning to meet on September 10th, 9 o'clock in the morning for a 2-hour meeting. Our main topic of discussion will be how the department operates with the 4 pillars of what the board has deemed necessary in our financial operations.
Perfect. Thank you,
That's
Eric.
it.
And then moving on to the CIP subcommittee report, Asia.
Yeah, hi Claire, everyone. There was not a meeting of the CIP subcommittee since the last meeting. I did have a job change. I do apologize for not getting that info in. Thanks to Jeanette for tracking me down. And I apologize. So I missed a meeting. Thanks, Anne-Marie, I think, for giving the report last meeting. We do plan to meet in November. We'll be scheduling that, as we get closer. But it sounds like Kirsten had a good idea. I was thinking of what she said about adding maybe some things to the list. We can consider what the articles look like for next year and what might be included there. I think we could put that on the agenda. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. And congratulations on your new job, Asia. Super exciting.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on to the Citizen Water Advisory Committee report, and we have Alan to provide that.
Yeah, this is clear. CWAC in August. So.
Okay.
That's what I stuck around all this time.
Thank you for that thorough update. All right, so we're on to item number I, which is future agenda items. Do we have any suggestions and what's on our list for?
Well,
Oh, the next work
hey,
plan.
Claire, one thing I wanted to bring up also is that I think it was you that asked about an update on Copper World. But
Mhm.
we're not gonna do that though, because, you know, we're not really involved with it. We
Oh,
just
okay.
were asked to comment on some documents that were
Okay.
out there. And so I just wanted to break the bad news to you.
Oh, that's okay. Just try and come up with things to, you
Yeah.
know, for you to stumble over having to do.
So right now for September, that's.
Oh, wait, we have a,
I was gonna say, the update that I gave to PAG is recorded.
oh,
So if you wanted to see that.
oh. What meeting was that? Oh, you'll report it for it? Okay.
All right. Now, September's agenda. You'll all be happy to know there will be a director's update.
Phew.
All right. Woo-hoo. Looks like Eric is coming back on September 26th to give a conveyance update. Is that correct, Eric? That's why you're retiring before that date.
That's why you chose the day you did.
All right, then we have the annual report to the Board of Supervisors approval that we just said we'll get the final draft to you and hopefully have you approve it at the next meeting. And then the 24-25 budget expense summary. That's all we got there. So it's pretty open for any special topics.
So what's happening the next, when did we put all our environmental, do we have one here? Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, she's so
So good.
really on top of it. I'm trying to think of when our environmental, I'm wondering if we can move something forward since we're going to move the conveyance back.
We may do it. I mean, we could if we don't have others. It's just,
We won't have
won't be
Eric.
as eloquent as Mr. Weedwell.
Yeah, this is what I had vaguely recalled is that we had all the living river and some of the other environmental
But
things.
we have to ensure their schedule though.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that was the only idea I had is that meeting had a lot of.
I can
items.
contact them to see if they're available at for the next meeting.
Mhm. Have there been any changes in the PAG 208 plan? And have we had an update on that? Don't know. Just
I
my
don't know
old,
if there's any update.
my
on
old
that
world.
I can think of, but I
Okay.
don't think we've talked about that.
Any ideas for agenda items for the September meeting that people have?
Or just allot all the time to the director and he'll entertain.
You're gonna break your.
We have
record.
burritos.
Okay, well, I'll think about it. Other people can think about it. If you want to come back with some ideas for them, I'm sure Jeanette would be happy to sort through that. All right, moving on to item J, which is called to the audience. Any audience members want to comment? Hearing none, I'll call for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Scott will second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 They did it this
Now you all
Yeah.
talk.
Any opposed? All right, well, we'll call the meeting to adjournment and it's great to see everybody. We'll see you here in September.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.